Hello everyone, this is Anjali and welcome back to my channel. If you follow me on my Instagram, you know that I have very recently started work with Microsoft as a UX designer. And that came to a possibility because I was offered a pre-placement offer last summer while I was doing my internship with Microsoft as a UX designer. Now, if you're watching this video because you want to learn about how to grab such offers as designers and big MNCs, in off-campus placement, then this video is not entirely for you, because in this video I'll be talking about my experience of grabbing this internship offer and eventually the pre-placement offer while I was doing my master's in interaction design from IDC IIT Bombay. Now, it's not unknown that students from IDC IIT Bombay eventually do end up in big MNCs for design jobs. But before I start this video, I should also mention that many internship offers are also offered by professors in IIT Bombay. I did not know about this because we had joined our classes online, and most of our masters has happened online because we were the COVID batch. But now that you know about it, you should definitely explore these options because many of these projects professors are working on and they offer them for summer internships are very interesting, and they provide you with a lot of learning as well. When we had just started with our classes, it had not even been a month properly. They started having a lot of roller rappa about companies आ रही हैं internship के लिए, तो resume बनाओ, register करो, ये करो, वो करो. So having a resume and a portfolio ready, when we had just started our masters, I know it sounds insane, but having that ready was definitely a plus. Microsoft was the first company in our time to come for the internship placements, and many students from masters and bachelors applied for this role. The first round of shortlisting happened on the basis of our resumes. So just make sure that when you send out your resumes, it's perfect. One way to do that is to send it for feedback. Just send it for feedback to your seniors, to people you know in the industry. One tip that I always give everyone who are making resumes is to mention the impact that you've made. For example, even though I was talking about my comic page on Instagram in my resume, I made sure that I do talk about the impact it has created in numbers. Now, out of so many people who had applied for this internship, also because Microsoft was the first company to come for placements, and we were sitting in our homes clueless about what the future holds for us, many people had applied for this role. So out of those many people, only around 10 people were shortlisted. After that followed days of interviews and further shortlisting. For me, there were 3 interview rounds scheduled, and in the video, I will talk about my experience with each of those rounds. The first round, a very sweet, humble looking man appears on my screen, and he throws at me our very own, very good old question: tell me something about yourself. If you've seen my videos before and you've spoken with me, you know that I have repeatedly spoken about how important this question is. With such questions, if you have your answer prepared, you can literally take hold of your rest of the interview. You can literally divert the way you want your interview to go. So, to a question like this, your answer should be literally on your tips. Further, I was asked the other generic interview questions like where do I see myself in a few years, or what do I want to do while my time at Microsoft? What are my plans for this internship is? What kind of learnings am I aiming for? You can literally find a list of such generic interview questions on the internet. Just Google it and make sure before you go for the interview, you have some very good, solid answers ready for these questions. One common thing with all my interview rounds was that every time the interviewer asked me to take them through my portfolio. My first interviewer, however, was not interested that much in my UI UX project, but he was more interested in my comic project where I was talking about the preservation of language and culture of our Kangi language in Himachal Pradesh. He wanted me to talk more about it. He wanted me to tell him why I was doing this. He even took the effort of finding my page on Instagram and just going through it. I got a sense that he wanted to see if I was really passionate about it. So I made sure that I talk about this project with as much passion as I can. This interview lasted for about 30 minutes, and then I jumped on to my second interview. In this interview, again, I was asked to take the interviewer through my project. See, in a 30-minute interview, it's only logical to, just talk about one project and then move on to other questions. So make sure that you have that one project you really want to talk about in the interview on the top. Make sure that you really know this project in and out. Make sure that this project adds value to your overall interview. What I mean by that is, if you've seen my other videos where I talk about how I prepared my portfolio for my admissions in this master program in different colleges, you know that I have spoken about that even though I was applying for interaction design, I did not care much about putting a UI UX project in the portfolio. But that can't be the case when you're applying for a job for the role of a UX designer in a company. So I had to make sure that one UX project that I had, I just put it on top. And instead of talking about the branding work that I had done for the project, I talk specifically about the UX work that I had done for the project. I have put the link to my portfolio in the description below. But if you're watching this video months and years after I upload it, the Behance is probably updated. I hope it is updated by then. Sometimes the interviewer can give you the choice to choose any project you want to talk about. But in some cases, they might even choose a project for you and ask you to talk about that specific project. So make sure that you are very thorough with all the projects that you put in your portfolio. Now, after talking about my project a bit, of course, a few questions about my work were thrown at me. After that, the main aim of this interview was the design task. These design tasks are very popularly known as whiteboard challenges, and you can read all about it on the internet. I have seen a few Medium blogs where people have taken case studies and they take you through how to solve these whiteboard challenges as well. I just had 15 minutes to do my whole task. So make sure that you know what your strategy will be. Even if you just have 15 minutes, how much time will you put in, ideating, or how much time will you just put in articulating your problem statement? It'll be very helpful if you are ready with your strategy before you go for these design tasks. I was very straightforwardly asked to design a WhatsApp like platform where teams or students or generally people who work in groups can collaborate. Let me go backwards on this. At the end of my interview, I was asked if I had any questions for the interviewer, and I asked them how did I do. I asked them if there was any way I could improve my performance for interviews that I will give in the future. I was told that I was thinking out loud during the whole task, and that was a plus. So now coming to the beginning of this task, I started by thinking out loud. So whatever I was thinking, I was saying it. I started off this task by asking a lot of questions. In most of the cases, I was just asked to choose things for myself. So then I assumed a few things and I made sure that my interviewer knew that I was assuming a few things. Based on that, I did brainstorm a bit. Again, I was thinking out loud, and I arrived at a few solutions. A common practice that I have whenever I'm doing such tasks is that I make sure that I do give very practical, very easy to implement solutions. But with that, I also give at least 20% solutions which are very futuristic, which are not easy to do, because as a designer, I believe they do expect us to be able to think beyond the capabilities of today's technology. The other good practice for you can be to work with your interviewer. Now, again, it's very subjective. It depends from interview to interview. It depends on your interviewer. But in my case, I worked with my interviewer. I involved them in this task instead of just working in isolation. Because you also have to understand that this task, as much as it is an evaluation of how well you think about a design problem and how you articulate your solutions. But with that, you can also take this opportunity to show your interviewer that you're a team player, that you know how to work with other people. With that, the interview ended, and then we moved to the final round of my interviews. This one was tough. Let me start with that my final interview lasted for over an hour. I started with talking about my portfolio once again. I had that one project uh, that I was talking about in all the interviews. I start talking about it, and I'm just two slides down, and I was stopped. I had a feeling that this round was about defending myself. This round was about evaluating if I can stand up for my designs. Although I'll make a separate video about my internship experience, but one of the learnings that I had during my internship was that as a designer, more than you design, you spend your time defending and discussing your design with other designers, your product managers, and the engineers. You spend a lot of time in getting all these people on board on the same page with your design and building that trust with them that what you're saying is something that they can rely on. Coming back to the interview, I was asked to defend the most basic design decisions that I had made in that project. So it did require me to know the ins and outs of that project. Good for me that I was involved in that project on the business level, and I had answers to most of the interviewers' questions. I'll give you an example. So the product that we had worked on was basically an app which will let you do bookings for your facial appointment. You can see this project on Behance. The link is in the description. One feature that the app had was that if you were going for that appointment and you wanted to have a quiet experience, and the person who was doing your facial, you do not want them to talk, you can opt for that. The question thrown at me was, how can you do that? How can you ask people to be quiet? He asked me to forget about the app. He asked me to forget about that icon, that button. He asked me to think beyond that, be it be a product or a tangible product or a service or a system or anything. He asked me to really think out loud and give him some solutions of how do you make people go silent. Most of our interview basically revolved around this one thing. By the end of this interview, we were talking on a very philosophical level. The sense that I got out of that interview was that the person really wanted to get inside of my head. They wanted to see how I think beyond, just designing these screens. I think they also wanted to see if I have the capability of defending my designs and the capability of accepting when I am wrong, and how do I find that middle ground with the other person. Since I'm telling you so many things, let me also tell you that everything that I'm saying in this video is my experience. All these claims that I'm making is just an observation that I had during my interview rounds. Things can be different and other people can have different experiences. So I encourage you to trust your gut and curate your own path, see what is best for you, and go with that. With that, we came to the end of my series of interviews, and after a few days, the results came out. 5 students finally got this internship opportunity with Microsoft, out of which 4 were from the master's program and 2 were from the bachelor's program. Here, let me also take this opportunity to say that ऐसा नहीं है that if you come to IIT तो job पक्का है. I mean, job तो मिल ही जाती है. Eventually, we all get a job. But what IIT can do for you is give you a platform. IIT will basically help you put your resume forward, put your portfolio forward in front of these companies. But if you make a cut, if you eventually cut that competition and get that job, get that internship offer, depends entirely on you. With that, we have come to the end of this video. If there is anything I've missed out on, also because I did this internship last summer, I went through these interview rounds almost 2 years ago. So there's a high possibility that I've missed out on some things. If there's anything specific you want to know, please drop it all down in the comment section below. I will make a separate video of my internship experience at Microsoft and how I managed to get a pre-placement offer with them. If you're watching this video because you're preparing for your interview rounds, I wish you all the very best. Just stay confident, be yourself, and prepare very well for your interviews. Until then, take care, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.